Hi, my name's Yande MK, host of the Women magazine on CTTV. I'll be talking to women from all walks of life and hear their stories. On this show, we get to learn about their education background, the life history, what they've been up to all this while, the professional background, and also things that you never expected these women have done for Mother Zambia. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Women magazine. Tonight we host yet another earth-moving woman, very intelligent and so inspiring, from the civil society and the hospitality industry, Miss Ansampa. Welcome to the Women magazine.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you could actually host me today.
And thank you so very much for opening the doors to your home.
You're most welcome, anytime.
So briefly tell us about yourself.
So I come from a family of 11. My mother and father unfortunately passed on, but they were very proud parents of 11 children. Of the 11 children, now we have 9 children that are surviving. We are now 8. We lost our firstborn last year. I think that's why I still think we are still 9. Our firstborn is the one that passed on last year. She was a banker, and the time she was passing on, she had retired. Then we had a secondborn. She passed on, I think, some time back. If I'm not wrong, that was 1988. And then the other one died in 1995, and that leaves, out of 11, 8 living children. I'm the 5th born in the family, and I proudly, think that God has actually blessed me a lot. I have been lucky because I started school in Monze. That's where my father was, working as a civil servant. My father worked for government all his life until he retired. When he retired, that's when he got a contract with Save the Children and worked in Mumba for 5 years before he passed on. And then my mother was always an entrepreneur. And I think that's where I learned some of the things that I do today, and some of the things that I actually did at work as well. She was a very interesting woman. From the time when I was young, she actually encouraged all of us, not just me, to work very hard, and that included my father as well. They would always encourage all the children to be self-reliant. So as a result, I think all of us were able to finish school and were able to be, self-reliant. I said that I started school in Monze. When I started school, I remember I would follow, older girls who would go to the field to go and till the ground. And my mother would always tell me that I was young. My father would say, no, later, she's learning. And I used to enjoy it. I would come back home and help my mother, cook in the kitchen. That also applied to my sisters. We all loved cooking. We loved housework. And when we moved from Monze, we went to Kitwe. Kitwe, if you know, there's a place that belongs to the government that is called Kafue. And it's a training center. That's where my father worked. And would go to school in I think that was Chamboli. And my school then was Malela Primary School. Okay. Yes, I think I only stayed there for 2 years. And then my father again was moved. And this time we went to a Chapla irrigation project. And my father was, I think, that time in the account section. Mm-hmm. And again, I remember the older girls, because this was an agriculture project, every time, when the office would get their products. They would grow things like cabbage, carrots, sweet potatoes and Irish potatoes, and every time they got their products and the fields were, left, you still had actually, cropping there. And the girls from the other compound would go there and collect those things, and then they would go to Kalushi and sell. So I would be looking at them. So one day I decided I was going to follow them, and I think I was in grade 6.
Okay.
So
and you were so young.
I was so young because I started school actually at 4.
Okay.
Yes, because I used to cry. Every time my siblings would go to school, I would cry. And I remember when I went to start school, you remember, I think that time, they would still, look at you and they would want 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
But I would cry. So the headmaster just said, okay, allow her to come in. Let's see how she performs. Because he was so sorry that he couldn't allow me to go to school. Because when my father took me, he said, she can't stop crying. And the headmaster said, but she's so young. We can't allow her. The policy doesn't allow.
Yeah.
And my father said, no, let her just come and sit in class. And then he said, but you'll have to buy a uniform. Then my father said, no problem. So they bought me a uniform and I started school. And initially, I was just supposed to sit in. But then they saw that I was actually following. And that's how they registered me.
Wow.
And I was the youngest. And ever since, until I finished, I was always the youngest in class.
Okay, so interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, back now to the trading part.
Yeah.
So in the evening, I went home. And in the evening, I was just waiting for the time I had been told to sneak out of the house. So about 18 hours, I just went through the back door, the kitchen, and I ran and went to the field, and we met with the girls, and we got heads of cabbage, we got onions, and then we also got Irish potatoes, not sweet potatoes this time. And then they always left to go to Kalulushi early in the morning, about 6 o'clock, with the early bus, because you needed to get to the market early so that you could sell. So early in the morning, again by 5:30, I was up. I sneaked out of the house and I ran to the bus stop, and the girls were already there with the products, and we got on the bus, they paid for me, and we went to Kaldoshi. And I don't know, somehow I wasn't even scared. So we got to Kaldoshi, I could count, I was able to sell everything.
Wow.
Yes, and I got so excited. And then I was thinking, I need to share with Dad, but how do I do it? Because if I tell him, he's going to stop me from going on the next trade. So I decided I was going to keep quiet. So I got the money, wrapped it and hid it. Because if my mother found the money again, she was going to ask me and say, where did you get this money from? So I didn't want to tell her. And I still wanted to trade. I wanted to learn. So I hid that money. We again planned to go into the field, I think after a day. And we went to the field. We got some more sweet potatoes this time. We got heads of cabbage and we got some onions. And again, we went to Kalushi and we sold. So this time, I realized if Dad found out, I was going to be in big trouble. If Mom found out, I was even going to be in more serious trouble. so I just decided, let me just be brave. Let me tell Dad. Because if I told Mom, she was going to whip me. So I decided, okay, tonight I'm going to tell Dad the news. So when we were having dinner, I was thinking, so how do I start? What time do I tell him?
After dinner or before dinner?
Before dinner, after dinner, or during dinner. So then I thought, after dinner. So after dinner was when Mom, was washing the dishes, I sneaked into the living room and found Dad watching TV. And then I sat there and I said, can I talk to you? And he said, yeah, no problem. Is it about school? Have you done your homework? I said, no, I finished my homework. Okay, so what is it? I said, Dad, I wanted to share with you. I went with some girls to sell. He looked at me, he said, to sell what? I said, so we went in the field and we got some heads of cabbage and we got some heads of, onions. And Dad was looking at me and, he said, which field? I said, well, the one that belongs to Chapply Irrigation Project. He said, but you're not supposed to be going there. I said, yeah, but they have already collected everything. There are only those things they are going to throw. So he said, still you're not supposed to go there. I said, okay, Daddy, can you go and talk to those people to allow us to get just a few more? Because we actually went to Kalush and sowed. My father almost dropped. He looked at me and he said, you went where? I said, Kalush. He said, with who? Then I said, oh, with those girls who stay, in the other houses that side. My father, stopped. He got angry initially. He kept quiet. Then he said, okay, so you sold your products. I said, yes. Where is the money? I said, I can show you. He said, yes, I want you to show me. That's why I'm asking, where is the money? I said, okay, can I show you? He said, yes. I said, promise you don't tell Mom. He says, no, I'm not telling Mom yet. I said, you're going to tell Mom? He says, no, don't worry. I know how I'm going to tell Mom, but can you bring the money? So I got up, went to the bedroom, brought the money where I had tied it, and I said, okay, here's the money. So he looked at the money, he counted it, and he said, so what were you planning to do with the money? I said, well, I thought I was going to help you buy my uniforms. I could buy my uniforms and my shoes for school. He looked at me, he was so happy because I don't know what he thought I was going to say, I was going to use the money for. And for sure, for me, what I was thinking was, if I make a little bit of money, I'm going to help my parents to buy my uniforms, and then they can save their money to do something else. So my father was so happy and impressed. Then he said, okay, I'll talk to the people at the office and see whether they can actually give you permission to be getting, the wasted, products so that you can sell them. But only if you promise me one thing. I said, what? He said, every time you're going to go to the field, you have to tell me. And every time you're going to Kalushi, I have to know. I said, okay, Dad. So that's how he allowed me to be doing that. But unfortunately, my father was transferred again, I think just after a month. So that business it didn't last long. But for me, that was, I think, the learning point. Because I all of a sudden realized to myself that I could do something productive and I could actually help bring in money in the household. So that was the time we left now. When I was in grade 6, we came to Lusaka. Lusaka, grade 6, grade 7, my mother got a shop in Kawata Market, and she used to sell there. And I remember she would ask the children when we were not in school to go and help. And I loved it. I think more than anybody else. Everybody else was complaining, but I loved it. And every time I went to the market to sell, I think I brought in most money.
Wow.
Because I was enjoying it and I knew how to attract clients. People would come, I would sell, I would be so nice to them. I didn't even know that this is actually a trade. And my mother kept on encouraging me. She would ask me, so how do you do the change? And I was learning maths, and I loved maths because of trading.
And I'm sure you're good in maths. Yeah, you're good in maths, that I know.
The only thing that I can tell you that I was proud of was in grade 7, I got all ones.
Wow.
Yes. And my father was so proud of me. Not that I was the only one. All my siblings actually were doing very well in school. But the fact that I got all ones, that encouraged me a lot. So I proceeded to Rusango Secondary School. Okay. My father wanted me to go to a mission school, so that's where I went. And he was very particular about the schools we went to. So being in a mission school also taught me, discipline, because there were certain things that the school didn't allow you to do. There were certain things that the school expected you to do. And one of them was actually cleanliness and responsibility and leadership. Rosango Secondary School is a Seventh-day Adventist school. And because it's a Seventh-day Adventist school, there are certain things that they don't allow you to do, and there are certain things that they allow you to do. And I think I benefited a lot being at that school. It sort of continued to instill in me the sense of development, because they also had a farm, and there were days when we were expected to work at the farm and to help with school production unit. So I think the sense of production, self-reliance continued even at school.
Yeah.
When I finished school, I remember I came back and worked for a year, and after that I got a scholarship to go to the Soviet Union.
Wow.
Yes. And I went to the Soviet Union, where I actually ended up with a master's and a master's of science in psychology and a master of philosophy in child development.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. When I came back, I lectured at the University of Zambia in the psychology department, and I was lucky again. I applied for my PhD and was immediately accepted at the University of Cambridge.
Wow.
Yes.
So inspiring.
Well, I just think that, I've been a lucky child, and my life has been so straight. And because of that, I always want to also help others and to inspire others. From the University of Zambia, I worked at the ILO for 1 year. I was the first manager in the first national program manager for the international program on the elimination of child labor.
Wow.
And I enjoyed it. Even if it was 1 year, I think I achieved so much. I was able to start the project or the program. I was able to identify 23 partners, including government ministries and departments.
Okay.
So we worked with Ministry of Youth and Sport. That time, what was it called? I think it was still Ministry of Youth and Sport.
And child development.
In child development, that's right. And then we also worked with the trade union, because the program was working on child labor. We also worked on with the Ministry of Education. And like I said, with a number of NGOs as well. And I was expected to start the program, to sign a memorandum of understanding with the government, and I was able to do that in 3 months and start trainings. So by the time I was leaving at the end of the year, it was actually a full-fledged program.
Wow.
Yes.
So tell us, how do you spend your social life? Or how do you relate your general life to your social life?
My social life, I think my focus was so much on work. Maybe my social life suffered a bit, in the sense that I had a family, but I think I spent not so much time with them, because I was always working and always running to meet targets. And I think that's the challenge that one faces when you work with the UN. They always have targets, and those targets will always have to be met. Despite to say that I always found time to go out for movies or parties, with the family. And I'm lucky. I have 3 wonderful children, and all doing very well. The last born at the moment, the second born, we just married off September.
Okay.
And the last born just graduated in Geneva, but he's still there. We expect him to be back in January.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. My social life, I think in between work and social life, I think I've also had time to grow myself.
Okay.
My mother, again, coming back to my mother and my father, when I was working, they were always encouraging me to do other things that were going to promote myself and the family. And I think maybe that's where part of social life comes in, because when you're doing your own things, you always involve family, so you work together. So we initially started by buying, building or buying shops. Okay, so when I was at Hunza, when I was lecturing at the University of Zambia, I managed to buy a plot at the Kalundu market, which we built as a shop. And then later on, we were able to buy a plot in Kalingalinga, mass media area, Alikinkata, yes, which we built, where we built a house, which we are now expanding to a boarding house.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. What's your favorite program on television?
My favorite program on television is Investigation Discovery.
Wow, why do you like that program?
The reason I like Investigation Discovery is because when I left from the ILO, I actually joined UNICEF, where I worked for 14 years.
Wow,
now,
interesting.
Yes. Working at UNICEF, I worked on different programs. One of them was the Street Children Program. The other one was the Orphans and Vulnerable Children. And then the other one was gender-based violence. And I think the gender-based violence program is the one that actually made me to get interested in investigation discovery. Because one of the things that I discovered was when cases were reported, the way they were handled, and the way they progressed, if they ever went to court, and the way they were concluded. So my thinking was, why is it that most of the cases that are reported actually drop out of court or from the police? Why don't people move forward with the cases? So you find that when you watch Investigation Discovery, there are a number of things that you learn.
Yeah.
I was a technical person. I was supposed to be providing technical support and technical advice, in the programs with the partners that we worked with, also with government. So I realized that when I watched Investigation Discovery, I was able to understand, cases being handled from different perspectives. And it's quite interesting. Even now, even if I'm not working for UNICEF, when you read newspapers, you listen to radio, you listen to TV, we still have a lot of gender-based violence cases, unfortunately. And I think, unfortunately, we had another case last week where a wife is supposedly, because we don't know what the facts are, ran over the husband. And you start asking yourself questions. What happened?
Exactly.
Why did that happen? How did it get to that extent? And if you watch Investigation Discovery, you actually see, what the build-up could have been, even without listening to the case further. But of course, for one to conclude, you still need facts.
You seem to be a bookworm. What book do you relate to?
The book I love a lot is actually this one, Memory, Thought and Behavior.
Okay.
And the reason is that it explains a lot in terms of what human beings do.
Okay. It seems to be a good book.
It is. It is, and it teaches you a lot.
Okay. So what is the most satisfying moment in your life?
The most satisfying moment in my life, I think, was the time when I got accepted to go and study at the University of Cambridge.
Define a great leader, and what do you think are some of the traits that a great leader possesses?
I know most of the people, they normally talk about Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think for me, he still stands out as a great leader. The reason he stands out as a great leader is that, he was able to forgive the people that persecuted him. He was able to sit and eat with them after he came out of prison. He was able to forgive them wholeheartedly and still, chat with them, program with them, and even seek advice from them. I think that's what a great leader should do. the one thing that I also loved about him, I think if somebody went to him to go and talk about somebody else, he did not react on what that person had gone to say about the other person.
Yeah.
He always wanted to find out the truth about the other person. And for me, I think if a leader can do that, then they would move anything.
Okay, so now tell us what would be your advice to young ladies and women alike who consider you as their role model?
I think, excuse me, I think my advice would be that, especially to young ladies, that nothing is impossible, and that they can actually aim high and reach there. The one thing that they need to do is to remain focused in everything that we do. I think focus and being steadfast is one important factor. I think you realize that the world that we are living in is full of temptations. And I think it's important for one to consult when they are not sure of a situation that they are facing. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we have right now. We have very few mentors. We have very few people that the youth can actually go to who have time for them. Because it's one thing having a mentor and another thing for that mentor to actually have time. I have left UNICEF, but I have a lot of youth that still call me and say, what should I do? I'm stuck, even in business, even in private life. And I'm glad, to be there for these people, because I think this is one thing that most of the youth, even adults, need. The issues that we are dealing with, especially when it comes to gender-based violence, it's because we don't have people that one can go to and trust that they are going to hold their secret. Because if you come to me and you confide in me, I shouldn't go to another person and start talking about you. Then I'm not helping you. If I'm really there to help you, I should be able to be a confidant. I should be able to respect, the things that you say. I'll only talk about the things that you tell me if I'm going to consult as well, but not because I'm going to talk evil about you. I think that would be totally wrong. And one thing that I would like to encourage the youths is that it's not only white-collar jobs that will make them, stand out in society. Doing their own businesses can also help them. I think it's the breakthrough that they require. And they can only break through if they seek information. And like they say, knowledge is always power.
And how is it like being a leader with name under your supervision?
I think...
A female boss.
Yes. I think that is one of the biggest challenges that a female boss can actually face. But I think one needs to be patient. One needs to actually understand what the male subordinates are actually going through. Because most of the times, male subordinates, sometimes they have that feeling that a woman cannot be my boss, which is very sad, because you can actually see the challenges that they are facing, but then sometimes there's a barrier in communication, and that barrier may be a stumbling block. But as a leader, I think it's important that you point out the challenges that your subordinate is facing so that you can help them overcome. And luckily, I did a course on leadership with Harvard University, and that taught me a lot, because it actually teaches you that there are certain situations where you have to walk away. If you cannot deal with a situation, accept that this is a difficult situation. And if it's a subordinate, whether male or female, and you can't help them, I think it's better you call a spade, and just tell them, here, I'm unable to help you. And if it's termination of duties, you have to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what is your, or rather, what are your greatest achievements and successes you have recorded in both the civil society and the hospitality industry?
Okay. In terms of civil society, I think I've been proud to sit on a number of boards. The first one I sat on, I think, was Zambia Children Education Foundation. I was actually the chairperson. And then I went on to be the publicity secretary for Children in Need Network. I've been a member of certain committees at the NGOCC before.
Okay.
Yes, and also I'm still a board member at Comfort. I'm still the president of Zambia Jubilee Coalition.
Yeah.
I do help with Flame. I'm a board member there as well. And right now I'm the executive director for Pavilion Blue Enterprise.
Okay.
And I think I also pride myself in saying that, you know, like I said earlier, running Anne-Marie boarding house.
Okay.
And we are expanding it. And like I said, I think I owe this to my parents, who have been very encouraging, and my family members, my siblings. They've been very supportive, including my husband. And I think it's actually good to see what you're doing, you know, materialize and, you know, develop. And I've actually been happy and proud to also be a mentor to a number of youths. And I work, you know, sometimes as a consultant. I've worked for WUSA, Child Fund as a consultant. I've done other consultancies as well for organizations that I wouldn't love to mention. I've continuously been a private consultant to married couples.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. And because one of the things that I actually don't like is to see a marriage break. That I think makes me very sad, because being a psychologist, I do understand the impact on children. And I think if couples, when they start facing challenges, if they can go for, you know, counseling early, that would be very helpful. And fortunately, you know, we had a chat on one of the blogs that I belong to, and one of the things that, you know, couples were complaining about was that the teachings, traditional teachings, even the Bible, you know, we are always taught that when you have problems or challenges, keep it inside. Don't take it outside.
Exactly.
But I think we also misunderstand, because when they teach us that, they are not saying you cannot go and consult. You cannot go and seek counsel. I think that is, you know, a misunderstanding. When we are facing challenges, I think what they mean by keep it inside is that you shouldn't go and start talking to anyone at all. But you can find a confidant that you can actually talk to, so that you don't break, you don't go killing your husband. They don't come killing you. Yeah.
So what are your success habits?
My success habits, I think it's patience and perseverance.
Okay.
And tenacity. When I start something, I don't start something if I believe it's going to fail. When I start something, it means I believe I'm going to make it.
Wow, that's so inspiring.
Yes. You know, we built some flats with my elder brother. And when we started, I remember my brother telling me, can we do something together? And I was like, what? I was initially excited. And then he said, can we do flats? And I'm like, what type of flats? He says, okay, I saw something in Sunningdale. Can we go and have a look? I said, okay. So we went. When I looked at the flats, I got scared. I was like, this man, is he normal? That was inside me. I'm looking at him, you know, I'm smiling, but inside I'm thinking, I think he's not okay. Because
and
the
you were
flats,
like, it's impossible.
yes, because the flats, you know, were maisonettes up and down,
Yeah.
and they were massive. And I'm like, it's not possible. So then we went back and I said, I don't think we are going to be able to do that. He said, believe me, we are going to do it.
We can do it.
We can do it. I said, how? He said, I will tell you how. He says, look, you are working, I'm working. We can put our resources together. I've already got a bill of quantities. And, you know, the engineer tells me we need about 500,000 for this. And I'm like, okay, 500,000. I said, okay, tell me more. So he says, I've already spoken to some architects. They will do the designs. I said, okay. So I said, if I don't have money, he said, your salary should be enough. And you know, I said, okay, I'll give you an answer. So I said, give me 2 days. I went away and I was thinking, I was scared.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was scared. I said, no, I think that is too big a project. Then I thought, we do get loans at work. I said, okay, maybe I should start thinking of getting a loan. And before that, I was actually so scared of getting a loan. And then I remember I was the staff association chairperson at UNICEF at that time. And then I thought, we normally think about, you know, doing projects at work. So what project can we do? I said, okay, I have to look for a bank that will provide access to loans for staff members. So that's how I spoke to my committee. I said, what do you think about, you know, us coming up with, you know, a function that will actually give staff members access to loans from banks? And they said, do you think we can do that? I said, I think we can do it. They said, okay, let's try, let's work on it. So I went to management and sought permission, and management said, well, as long as you are able to monitor as staff association, we are fine. I said, you can trust me on that. And they said, okay, you can go ahead. So when we were given the go ahead, I started prospecting which bank we could go to. So the first bank that we got, you know, a memorandum of understanding with was Intermarket.
Okay.
Yes. So I remember I got a loan of 17,000 kwacha. No, that time it was 17 million.
Yeah.
Yes. And I told my brother, I said, okay, I think I'm set, we can start. So we started, you know, with working with the architect. He designed the flats, and then we started with the foundation. The foundation was done, and from there, I think Stanchart came to us and they also offered. I think they had heard that we were working with Intermarket and our payments were regularly, we were, you know, following everything as it should be. Stanchart, I never got any loan from there, but then we went to Zanaco, and I remember getting a 300 million loan, and I was supposed to pay it in 3 years' time, which I did.
Okay.
Yes, because I was focused, and by that time, when I left Unza, they sold me the flat where I was staying, and I only got it for 9 million.
Okay.
I thank God for
lucky.
that. Yes. And that's why I say my life has actually been very straight. I've been very lucky. I've had less challenges. You know, most of the challenges that my friends talk about, you know, I would pride myself in saying God has actually been very faithful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how now that one big challenge, or, you know, so the project was managed. We were able to do the project. My brother then was a pilot in India, so he was also working as an international staff member.
Okay.
So we were able to bring resources together and that project finished.
Okay, so as we wrap up, how would you love to be remembered by your admirers?
I think that's a difficult one, because normally people are the ones who speak for you. But then I think I would like to be remembered as one person who contributed towards bringing development to Zambia. And I say so because one of the things that I didn't mention is that while at UNICEF, I was able to work on a project that is called, or program rather, that was called Building Young Futures. And on that Building Young Futures, we partnered together with the Ministry of Gender and also Ministry of Youth and Child Development and Ministry of Youth, Sports and Child Development. Yes. And we were able to train over 9,000 youths in entrepreneurship. We were able to give them those skills. We were able to unleash quite a number of youth potentials. We were able to monitor them, grow their businesses, and I would like to be remembered, I think, as somebody who wanted to see youths move from one stage of life to a higher level. And I would still want to encourage the youths that were on that program, and also on the women who were on the program, the UN program on gender-based violence, that we also provided with social and psychological support, and also gave entrepreneurship skills. And the organizations that I worked with, that they should continue giving mentorship to the youths and to the women, and giving social and psychological support, because without mental stability, no one is going to move forward. So we still need that, and I'm still available when they need me.
Thank you so very much for opening the doors to your home.
Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Okay, well, you have it, viewers. This has been the Women Magazine. Tonight we're hosting Miss Ansampa. What an inspiring and success story we've heard tonight. Join us next week, same platform, same time, only on CTTV, channel 810, Go TV. Good night and pleasant viewing.